Walters. I'm the founder of the Brain to Book 90-Day Accelerator Program, which means that I help experts write a book about their expertise in 90 days. And last year I worked with Claudia Lantos, who is our guest today. Claudia is a former lawyer, but don't hold that against her. About 15 years ago, she set up an executive coaching business in Holland, became an entrepreneur, and then she transferred the whole business and set up again here in Australia. So an experienced serial entrepreneur. Last year, we worked together on writing, collaborating on Claudia's first book, and she wrote and published The Adversity Advantage. So we're going to talk today about the experience of writing a book and some of the lessons that Claudia learned from going through that process. So first of all, I'm going to start with a question about the book. Claudia, just tell us what it's about.
Thanks, Kath, for that lovely introduction. Yeah, the adversity advantage is really about how you can turn your adversity into an advantage. We came up with that because in my own life, I had some personal adversity, and I work with a lot of leaders that experience adversity. So I've always been a bit obsessed with it. And to give an idea, I had 5 car accidents and I had 4 concussions in separate accidents. So over a period of about 15 years, I was always at some point in recovery, and my recoveries were from 9 months to 2.5 years. So lots of time to reflect and think, because as a typical high achiever, always in fast-paced jobs, I always wanted to do my best. So when you're recovering from something, you really need to reflect and anticipate and plan how you're gonna deal with that. So I made it my mission in my coaching practice to help other leaders with that.
So when you went through all that adversity, you didn't really see it that way. It wasn't, you didn't see it as adversity. You saw it as, I don't know, just a fact of life, a scenario that you didn't want to be the status quo, as you say in your book. It was really through working with your coachees that you started to really encapsulate this idea that of helping people to turn their adversity to advantage, yeah?
Definitely. And the book is about, because I mainly work with leaders who are high achievers and want to be at their best. So the book is basically about managing your peak performance, and also how you shift from high performer to high achiever, because there's a difference there. And where high achievers are more, those laser focused people who are going for that goal and find it hard to involve others because they're always, in a hurry. High performers are more the people who have that sense where they enable others and involve others on their journey to achieve that goal. So high achiever will quickly lose their followers. And so it's a little bit a metaphor for the difference between managing and leading. Whereas managing, you're more transactional, operational, and with leading, you're more role modeling the right behaviors to help others to be their best. Further in my book, of course, I share a lot of tools that are enabling you to turn your adversity into an advantage. And one of them is the process that I've developed as a scenario thinking framework. It's my signature framework. And I'm interviewing somebody because I like to have the perspective of an elite athlete, which is Caroline Brouwer. She's one of the best sailors in the world. She won the Volvo Ocean Race 2017-18. And I interview her about her perspective about leaders under pressure, because you can imagine that when you go over the world, sailing over the world in 9 months, there's quite some adversity in how she dealt with it, gave a lot of insights. And then in the end, I also, of course, share a little bit about my own adversity, but mainly a lot of examples of adversity and how leaders overcame that adversity from the people that I work with, which is amazing.
So tell me a little bit about what prompted you to write this book, because you've been a coach for decades, really. So, you know, what was the trigger really that helped you to think, well, maybe it's time for me to write the book?
Yeah, well, I was intrigued because the leaders that I've worked with, and like I said, you know, all high achievers, high performers on top of their games, they often still accepted a situation that wasn't working for them. They accepted the status quo that wasn't working for them. And, you know, they told me, oh, I better keep my head down. And if I just work hard, then the adversity will go away or will solve itself. But it really doesn't. So it prompted me to provide tools that my coaches could work with to overcome their adversity. And also I did a lot of research over the years because I was, you know, a bit obsessed with that topic. And so I always try to read a lot on it and be a continuous learner in that field. And I noticed that there are quite some universal themes from that. So like setting your boundaries or preparing for a difficult conversation or making a difficult or challenging decision. So, and in the scenario thinking framework, the behaviors and your assumptions and your beliefs are all included to make that best decision or get that best outcome.
Look, I understand that as you went through the process of writing this book, that you really sort of felt that you'd learned some lessons about what you were doing yourself, that it clarified some things for you. It's something I've noticed that authors can experience. So I'd love it if you will be able to share those lessons with us. So just take us through one by one. What's the first lesson that you learned from writing a book?
I would say that the first thing is that you learn is because you really have to think things through, right? If you're going to write a book. And so you learn to far better articulate and know what it is that you stand for and believe in as a coach. And I thought that that was a real great advantage to do that, because it makes it much easier for people to refer you to other people, but also to know who to refer you to. And it makes it easier to explain yourself to your clients or to new potential clients and people you work with. Yeah.
So it's a kind of clarity that you develop around things that you already know, but you sort of, I guess, develop the ability really to succinctly say them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the second lesson that you learned?
I think that is about, we touched upon that because I came up with a scenario thinking framework, but that was never a thing already, right? So although I was coaching the leaders that I work with was coaching on it, it was more intuitive. But when you write a book, you start to think what is the process actually that I'm taking people through, and then you start writing it out, and it becomes a visual, and all of a sudden it's a model, and you've created your IP. So I thought that was, really great. And next to that, there are also some other things that you get aware of, like the overview document that I come up with, which is a document that helps leaders to drive their business rather than react to the business, what's happening to them.
So tell us about lesson number 3.
I think the other thing is that because you've been intensely working on a book and you had to think really hard about what it is that you want to convey to people, when the book is done, all of a sudden your mind is not stopping, right? So other ideas pop up. So on the back of your book, you can write articles and I was lucky enough to write an article for business magazines like CEO Magazine, for the Business Chicks magazine called Latte. And from that, it also makes it easier to have your book published via websites like Amazon.com or Booktopia, and also makes it easier to get your book in the bookshops, because that's also a process you go through. And so the book is, my book's now available in Dimmocks in Sydney, and in Harry Hartog and Title. And and that is sort of, you constantly build on the steps that you go through.
Fantastic. So lesson number 4, tell us about that one.
What I also became aware of is that after the book, and when you start to have conversations about it with your clients and your coachees, is that they see you in a different light. Your credibility goes up, and they understand better what it is that you're specialized in, and they see you more as the subject matter expert, I guess. It just deepens the relationship a little bit more, I think.
Yes, well, you do. You travel from expert to authority when you publish that book. And really, although it's a lot of work getting there, it's overnight when you turn into that authority. So fantastic. Tell me, I think there's lucky number 5. Tell me about that one.
Well, that has all to do with you, right? Last but not least. And because I still remember how we met, because you reached out to me via LinkedIn, and at the time I was thinking about writing a book, and you asked me the question, have you ever thought of writing a book? And it was like you could read my mind. It was so timely. And one of the questions you asked, because we discussed your 90-day program, which is writing a book in 3 months, was, are you a finisher? And I recognize that as a typical high achiever question, in the sense that, do you finish what you start, right? And I just, was all in, and I thought, yes, this is going to be great collaboration, because I really wanted to do that. Working with you gave me a lot of guidance of how to write a book. And you challenged me in my thinking of the content that I wanted to write in the book, but you also gave me enough space to go a different avenue if that would be my preference. And at some point in the process, the irony is that this book is about adversity, and a week before my manuscript was done, I had a concussion number 4. And, so the launch invites were already out, the launch date was set. So that was a bit stressful, and you really supported me when I got overwhelmed there. So thank you for that. And on top of that, because when we worked together for 3 months, that was really structured and gave me guidance on the process. And on top of that, we also, you also had a great network of people that I could tap into where it came to the publishing side. So there was another 1 or 2 months in total. And you brought me in touch with a great editor and with a designer for the internals and the cover of the book. So that really completed it. So it was a lovely experience, because writing a book in 3 months is quite challenging. And then to get all the publishing done and get it ready and launch it. But it was a wonderful journey, and I was really glad to do it together with you.
It's a huge accomplishment. So congratulations on that. I think anyone who does write a book and publishes it, it's a huge achievement. What's been the outcome? Has it been a positive impact on your business? What's happening these days?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's the biggest thing is, I think that was number 3, about the fact that people see you more as a subject matter expert or an authority. I've got more work coming my way. And I also, one of the biggest things that I haven't specifically mentioned, but this is maybe a logic one, is that I've found my thought leader voice more, right? So I noticed that I connect easier with a broader audience, and that audience can also easily more easily find me.
So you've got plenty of bookings. I think you've launched an actual training program as well around this particular thought leadership.
Yes, because now with COVID-19, everything is virtual. So I've designed a virtual scenario thinking framework workshop to help leaders through their difficult decisions and difficult conversations, making life easier. And I'm not, next to being executive coach, I'm also a supervisor for peer coaching. So yeah, it's keeping me busy, and this was a great foundation.
Well, talking of adversity, I mean, I don't think any of us have seen anything quite like the current circumstances. So, Claudia, hold up your book for us. Show us the book that you worked so hard to create. There it is, The Incredible Adversity Advantage, the book of our times.
No, exactly, and especially now it's print on demand, right? So it's so easy to still make sure that while we're working from home that we can achieve that. So yeah,
fantastic. Thank you so much for talking with me today, Claudia. It's been a terrific insight into the whole process. So thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure we'll see each other again for book number 2.
I look forward to it.